Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome on into another edition of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's the Super Bowl week. One of the biggest, craziest, silliest weeks in the U.S. sports calendar, as the Eagles and the Chiefs descend upon Arizona to get ready to play in Super Bowl 57. We will talk about that game a little bit. We will also talk about the Bears. We'll put a Bears twist on all of that, put a Bears spin onto it, as also, the Bears are in free agency. Draft mode is high, and Bears fans in general are just as high as a kite with enthusiasm right now. We will discuss all that. Then also in the NBA, we've got the trade deadline coming up in just a few days. Thursday afternoon is the NBA trade deadline. Are the Bulls going to buy, sell, or stay put? We'll go through the options there. And then also WNBA free agency has come upon us, and the Sky are doing a lot more losing than they are adding. All that plus more coming up here on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on up, everybody. Let's go. And once again, hello and good evening. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Lots to get to tonight. Going to be talking, of course, some football and then also some more basketball, as we've been doing the last few weeks. Got to check in on the Bulls as they are not only playing against the Spurs tonight, but they're also getting closer and closer to the trade deadline before the NBA's All-Star break, and going to check in some more on the Chicago Sky as free agency is upon us in the WNBA and things going on there. Before we get too far into everything, of course, we do need to get through and do some of our homework as we will on the show. We want to, so we will start there. Of course, IE Sports Radio has been with you almost now for 9 years almost, and we continue to bring you the very best in the way of live interviews and tailor-made shows all the way across the U.S. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans. With your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starts at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout-out on all of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to the Podcasting University, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to thank our Patreon supporters at this point, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous for their continued support. IE Sports Radio, of course, is available for you on all the major social platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at IE Sports Radio. This show is available for you on Twitter as well. We are at IESRC. You can also follow along with me personally on Twitter. I am at Adam_Karnick. All set, all that said and told. Thank you, first of all, to everybody listening live here on Spreaker. If you're doing so, hop on into the chat room. We can interact, have some fun that way, some banter back and forth there. Or if you're listening as a podcast later on, whether it's also on Spreaker or on iHeartRadio, YouTube, on the website, IE Sports Radio, you can listen into the most recent shows right there on the website. You can even listen in live there. However you're taking in our content, we really do appreciate you being here. All right, so I wanted to start things off with the NFL tonight because it's Super Bowl week. This is the zaniest, wackiest, craziest, most hyped up week of the entire U.S. sports calendar. Both teams are in Arizona. They are in town for the game. They are making whatever preparations they need to, whether it's game plan or whatever else is going on in there. For both of these teams, of course, they've been here relatively recently. The Chiefs, this is now their third appearance in the last 4 seasons. The Eagles, this is twice now within about 6 seasons that they have been in. So these franchises at least have a little bit of experience here. And we get into all the wacky and silly stuff like, the media week and everything going on there. We'll see what comes out of it all before they play the biggest football game of the season. But as always here, we want to try to keep it with a Chicago perspective. And as I brought this up basically all off season to this point, and I do believe Ryan Poles understands and gets this and would agree with me. The biggest thing to take away as we look at these teams is you look at their lines, offensive and defensive, and just how strong and dominant they are defensively. You've got the Eagles with one of the best pass rushing units, and they don't have to blitz. They very, very, very seldom need to blitz because they've got such a great arsenal of pass rushers there in their stable that allows them to drop 7 guys back into coverage. They don't need to do anything extra to generate pressure. And then on the flip side, you've got guys like Jason Kelce who can help protect Jalen Hurts for the Eagles, or for the Chiefs. You've got that core stability there on the offensive line to help keep Mahomes upright and protected and to keep the pressure off of him, especially as Mahomes is battling a bum ankle a little bit. So what is Ryan Poles take away? Well, we just had the Senior Bowl this past week down in Alabama. Luke Getsy served as one of the head coaches for the Bears, so he got to have an up-close and personal look at some of the guys who are going to be available in this upcoming draft. And there are some good offensive line projects. Obviously, guys like Paris Johnson from Ohio State or Peter Sikoronski from Northwestern, just up the road there at Northwestern. Those guys weren't there at the Senior Bowl, but that wasn't to say that there weren't offensive line prospects. Arguably the best center in this draft, John Michael Smith from Minnesota. He participated in Senior Bowl drills, and he even participated in the game. Shored up his draft stock. He might, from a talent perspective, he might even sneak into the bottom end of the first round on some people's boards. I'd be shocked if he actually gets taken there just because he's a center and the positional value seldom is there for a center. But listening to some of the things people were saying about his play and who he is off the field as a leader, reminded me a lot of Olin Kreutz. What people would say about Olin Kreutz and his leadership, and that, he was such a stabilizing force on that offensive line for so many years, the late 90s through to the early 2010s with the Bears. He was the vocal guy that Jay Cutler wasn't. And not that Justin Fields isn't a vocal guy. He is. He's very much a leader in that regard. But to have your center be that kind of guy also, the center's got to be the quarterback of the offensive line. It's something that they almost have to work in tandem, all five guys across that line. They almost have to act as just one person. And when your center is able to be the undisputed leader of that group, that can go a long way towards helping your line and helping your offense as a whole. So somebody like that, if the Bears are able to get him now, after this, they might have to use a second round pick on him. You were thinking before that, he might be available third, fourth, maybe even later round. Now it's, you might have to spend that second round pick on him. There was another center out of Michigan that had put some excellent tape on during the practices, making some terrific blocks. There's prospects to be had with this group, with this team. But it's just, it's such a crazy optimism right now surrounding the Bears. And it's perfect as we're in the craziest week of the NFL's calendar. It's great that there's almost a ridiculous amount of enthusiasm around the Bears right now. And there should be. You look at it, the Bears have a franchise quarterback. They have the number 1 overall pick. They have more cap space than any other team in the NFL by a long shot, by a wide margin also. There absolutely should be enthusiasm and excitement around the Bears this offseason, because it's easily the biggest offseason that the Bears have had for several years. There's not a scenario on the table right now that, if you look at it purely from the Bears' perspective, where you'd say, no, that's ridiculous. That's too far-fetched. You can't make that work. I don't know that that's ever happened, if we've ever been able to say that inside my lifetime. I don't go back quite as far as Super Bowl 20. I'm only 35, soon to be 36. So I don't quite go far back enough to remember Super Bowl 20, but I'm not that far off from it. And I can't recall any time where there's been this much enthusiasm for a Bears offseason. There's not a single reason on the Bears side of it that they couldn't make something happen with anybody. Talking about guys like Saquon Barkley in free agency, or Daron Payne in free agency, guys that, could be big-time movers and shakers in this offseason. They could be coming to Chicago. Money shouldn't be something that keeps them from coming to Chicago. Certainly you can't look at the team and say, oh, they don't have a need for that. Because outside of quarterback, they basically need everything. Running back, all 5, at least 3 offensive line spots. Running back, if they decide not to bring Montgomery back, which it looks like. Taryn brings up a perfect one here in the chat. It's looking like Keenan Allen of the Chargers could get cut due to salary cap problems. I think that would be a terrific addition for the Bears. You look at Keenan Allen. Let's pull up his numbers real quick, shall we? He's a veteran wide receiver. I believe he will be 30 this season. He is 30 right now. I'm pulling up his numbers as we go over to profootballreference.com. Where's his? There we go. Born in 1992. So he's going to be 31 here at the start of this season. He's almost 31. He has spent his entire career with the Chargers to this point, I believe. Yes, he has spent his entire career with the Chargers. Draft pick in 2013. He has spent his entire career to this point with the Chargers. Only had 10 games this year, but it's the first time he's had less than 14 games since 2016, when he only appeared in a game. So you're talking, 6 straight seasons where he's had double-digit appearances. He did have a hamstring injury this season. That's what held him to just 10 games. But still, in that, 66 catches, 752 yards, he has had at least 4 touchdowns every season except for 2016 when he only played in the one game. Other than that, he's had a minimum of 4 touchdown catches every year. He's a guy that knows how to get open. The Bears wide receiving core, you need an alpha. You need a top for this. They've got speed in Darnell Mooney. They have speed in Velus Jones. I still don't think Velus Jones is anything more than a gimmick gadget guy. But he does offer you speed, and he did show a little bit towards the end of the season of being able to do something with his route running, and he grew a little bit. But you've got the big body in Claypool. You need to get a heck of a lot more out of Claypool this year than you got the little bit last year. But you don't have that leader in the room. Allen can be that. He can be that veteran presence in the room. I don't know that I would necessarily break the bank for him. I don't know that I would necessarily go 4, 5, 6, 7 years, because he will be 31 by the time this coming season starts. I don't know that I would go more than like 2 or 3. I don't know that I would necessarily go maybe more than 3 seasons with him, because unfortunately at that wide receiver position, once you hit 30, you do start to see things go down and go down quickly. But I would not be opposed with the Bears pursuing Keenan Allen. I think he would be a terrific addition to the receiving room. And you look at the numbers for him before this season, when he only had 10 games that he played in. He had 3 straight seasons of 100 catches, and 4 of the last 5 seasons he had 100 catches. The only exception in there was 2018. He had 97 catches that year. So he's been a very reliable guy. I would love to see him in a Bears jersey. Again, I wouldn't go out and necessarily break the bank for him. I wouldn't go out and 4, 5, 6 year deal and, oh man, we got to lock him up for a long time, because unfortunately for wide receivers, they do, once they hit 30, they do tend to decline, and it can happen very quickly. But this is also where having a lot of cap space now can be advantageous for you. The Bears could structure a deal where they front load it, take advantage of some extra cap space now, front load a deal, make it a relatively short deal, and then hey, if it's not working out, you can always come back to it later, on either side of it. Let's go over to Spot Rack for a second. And we'll see. Now he currently has 2 seasons left on his current deal. So it'd be interesting to see if the Chargers would try to trade him first before cutting him. But it would be, he's got a couple of years left on his current deal. It'd be interesting to see if they try to make a move with him first, or they just he's gonna become a cap casualty, and that'll be that. But I would be just fine with the Bears pursuing him. Again, I don't want to, just throw bushels of money at him, but he would certainly be somebody that I'd be interested in the Bears acquiring. But that's the fun of where the Bears are at right now, is you can throw these hypotheticals out there, and whatever it is on the Bears side of it, there's the potential. There's nothing on the Bears side of it to say, oh, that's not possible. No way. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't bring in that guy. You can't make a move for him. Why would he want to come here? Why would the Bears don't have this, that, or the other thing? It's all there, and it's all on the table, which just makes it fun for the Bears to be able to do that. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to discuss some other hypotheticals. This time we'll be looking at some Bulls hypotheticals on the other side of a break. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that's sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The Spanish Top Flight is here on Wellington Sports Radio. From past champions like Barcelona and Atletico Madrid to current champions Real Madrid and every team in between, trying to fight for Champions League glory and trying to fight against relegation. It's La Liga right here on Wellington Sports Radio.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Talked some Bears and some NFL in the first segment. We now want to transition over to the hardwood. The Bulls are home, taking on Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs tonight. Late in the first quarter, the Bulls are up But that's not really the reason to be talking about the Bulls. Of course, right now in the NBA, the trade deadline is later this week. It is this coming Thursday. And the question is, what are the Bulls going to do? We've seen some movement around the league already. The big move came down yesterday afternoon that the Brooklyn Nets sent Kyrie Irving to Dallas. That move is relevant to Chicago in that Dallas had been interested in Zach LaVine. That if the Bulls were willing to move on from LaVine, who just signed that 5-year max contract here in the offseason, that Dallas would be interested in having LaVine to help take some of the pressure off of Djokovic and help Dallas try to take the next step in the Western Conference. The Bulls have been adamant that they are not looking to move LaVine. The Mavericks, instead, they wind up getting Kyrie Irving. Good riddance. And they move on as well. So, what do the Bulls do? They're sub 500. They have been all season long. They can't get over the hump. They haven't had a winning streak of more than 3 games all season long. And just when it looks like this team is going to turn things around, they fall on their face. And they lose to some stupid game like the Pacers game a couple of weeks ago, or they lose to the Charlotte Hornets of all teams. Now, they did turn around. They beat Charlotte. They beat Portland here their last couple of games. They should beat the Spurs tonight. That puts them right back into a 3-game winning streak. But what should they do? They can't stand pat. This core that they have assembled of DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic, and Lonzo has shown you that it can't work. Not least of which because it unequivocally, you need, in order for that to work, you need to have Lonzo out there quarterbacking things. And Lonzo's not available. And he might never be available again. Or even if he is available, you have no idea to what extent. It's looking more and more like Lonzo Ball is not going to play this season. The Bulls have 30 games left in their schedule, and they still have no idea on a timetable on Lonzo Ball. It's looking extremely likely as though Lonzo Ball will not play this season. So you can't count on that. You don't know what you'd be getting from Lonzo Ball going forward either. So to me, the ship on this being your 4 key guys, that ship has sailed. So do you add or do you subtract? Do you try to add? Do you try to get some players and build around what you have and try to fix this thing? Well, it's tough. Looking at ESPN, they did a nice job on ESPN Plus of breaking down trades all throughout the NBA. The Bulls don't have a lot of cash available. They've got $6.4 million that they could send or receive. They are just below the luxury tax. They're less than $2 million below the luxury tax. There's some things built into Zach LaVine's contract that would need to be taken into account financially if you traded him. Derek Jones Jr. Can veto. He's got basically a no-trade clause. He can veto any trade. They don't have a lot of draft capital that they could offer up in a trade either. They owe Orlando a pick in this coming draft this summer. They owe them another pick then again in 2024. And in the very likely event that they send a pick to Orlando in this draft, then they owe San Antonio a first in 2025. They have the potential to get a pick from Portland. And they only have one second-round pick available to send in a trade. Part of that is due to Lonzo Ball's sign-and-trade deal from 2021. It's very hard to see, to me, how the Bulls could be buyers in this market. They just don't. They don't have a lot that they can offer up. I mean, unless if you're going to your plan is you're going to give up on Patrick Williams. You're going to give up on Kobe White. Unless you're going to absolutely mortgage everything what little things are available to you to even be mortgaged to try to make this work. They just don't have a lot to offer in a trade to acquire. Kobe White's an interesting piece. They could look at moving him. He's a guy that does seem to be maturing, does seem to be growing. He seems to be becoming a little bit more of a point guard and not just a three-point shooter. He's not getting a whole lot of minutes with the Bulls right now, so that's somebody that perhaps they could move. Patrick Williams is somebody that it's just Larry B joins into the chat. One of his two favorite shows on Monday night. We only have two on Monday night, Larry. Thank you. Glad to know I still rank. Patrick Williams, it feels like he's not going to be able to spread his wings unless a change happens. Either he moves off of the Bulls or the Bulls sell and make Patrick Williams a priority. It doesn't feel like it's going to just happen organically. It feels like if Patrick Williams is going to take the next step, it's going to have to be forced upon him one way or the other. Either they ship him off somewhere or they ship off other people and say, all right, Patrick, here you go. We need you to spread your wings. I have a hard time seeing how the Bulls can acquire pieces, what the Bulls could do to acquire. It just feels like they don't have enough ammunition to be buyers. So you shouldn't stay put, because staying put hasn't worked, because you're missing the most important piece of this roster construction in Lonzo Ball, and you're not getting him back in any meaningful way. You don't have the ability to go buy. So to me, you're left with the Bulls have to sell. They have to look at selling. They've made it known, not directly, not with Karshinovitz coming out and saying we won't trade Zach LaVine, but they've let it be known through outlets, through reporters, that they really aren't interested in trading LaVine. Okay, you're not interested in trading Zach LaVine. All right, you just signed into a max contract. He's somebody that you want to have be around. Okay, that's fine. Well, how about DeMar? How about DeMar DeRozan? He's eligible for an extension this offseason. It looks like he and Zach are really struggling to get along on the court together. They keep having to have meetings and sit downs and reminders of how to work with one another. You keep having my turn, his turn, my turn, his turn, my turn, his turn, my turn, his turn with the two of them. That they're not necessarily working organically together to make things work. So you could look at moving DeMar. How about Vucevic? Vooch he is shooting the ball significantly better this season than he has in years past. He's becoming a much more efficient offensive player. Not to the degree of what the Bulls thought they were getting when they got him from Orlando in the first place. But he's improving. He's trending in the correct direction. And he's in the final year of his deal. He's on an expiring contract. So maybe you look at moving Vooch. You're not going to get a ton for Vucevic at this point. You're not going to get much. You're certainly not going to get a quality return on your investment, multiple ones and all that they gave up to get Nikola in the first place. But it's better than the nothing you'd get for not having him in the offseason. For letting him walk in free agency in the offseason. So that would be somebody to move on from. Caruso just got hurt, unfortunately. Is he playing tonight? As I pull up the stat sheet, the Bulls are currently winning. Thank goodness they're beating somebody. Let's see. Is Caruso playing? No, he is not. He is not playing tonight. So Alex Caruso is a no-go tonight for the Bulls. You could look at moving him. I mean, an energetic spark plug kind of player. That's something teams are always looking for. Maybe you move Caruso, see what you can get for him. Ayo Dosunmu is an interesting piece. He's, for a second-round pick, they've gotten terrific returns on him. Is he somebody, though, that you can effectively build around and have be a long-term big-time star of a player? I don't know. Maybe he's a guy that you sell high on and you collect some assets for him. Yeah, he's a local kid made good, but you do kind of have to be cold a little bit and weigh your options here. Taryn, that is a terrible trade suggestion. No, the Bulls are not giving Alex Caruso back to the Lakers in exchange for Westbrook. No, that is a terrible deal. I want nothing to do with Russell Westbrook. I want almost as little to do with Westbrook as I would want to do with Kyrie Irving. It's not quite on the same degree. Westbrook is just bad for a basketball team. Kyrie Irving is just bad for people in general, So no, Taryn, that's a terrible trade idea. I know you would love to have Caruso back with the Lakers, but I know you kid. I know, but no, we're not doing Caruso for Westbrook. Frankly, I don't know what the Lakers would be able to offer, because my heart wants to say Anthony Davis, but he's hurt all the time. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'd want from the Lakers in exchange for that. I'm sure we could reach out to Davidson and he can work out some kind of a fair arrangement and a fair agreement there. But so I feel like the Bulls need to sell. I don't know that they're going to. I was listening to some Bulls talk on the way in. Darnell Mayberry of The Athletic, I was listening to him on the radio a little bit on my way in, and he talked a little bit about it. I heard some other Bulls people throughout the day talk about it. It feels kind of like we're headed towards, they're going to try to just ride this out, that they're going to try to just let this thing play out, let the chips fall where they may, and then we see where we end up here at the end of the season. Probably what will happen in that scenario is they'll wind up in the NBA's play-in tournament. They'll wind up in one of those bottom 4 seeds in the East, and we'll see what comes of it. But it's my hope that when we're talking next week, we're talking about some selling type moves that the Bulls have made and try to recoup some assets going forward. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to continue to talk about hoops, but we're going to talk about the other professional team in town, the Chicago Sky. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You got to check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Motorsports takes many forms, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Daryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly, everybody. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Want to say once again thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, MLS Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous, as we've got just a couple of minutes left in the show here tonight before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point as he gets us caught up on everything in the world of volleyball. Yes, we have Patreon supporters. Would you like to be one? All you have to do is go to iesportsradio.com. Our Patreon link is right there, and it starts at just $5 a month. And then you, too, can get shouted out on every single one of our shows. Thanks again to our Patreon supporters for that. So we talked a lot of Bears. We talked some Bulls. Now we want to talk some Sky. The WNBA free agency period is upon us. The Sky have seen a ton of big-time players leave. 4 of their key players from their championship run from a couple of seasons ago are not going to be playing with the team this season. Courtney Vandersloot, she's gone on to New York. She's going to be playing with the Liberty. Candace Parker, of course, the big one, she's going out to Las Vegas. She's playing with the Aces. Azura Stevens, one of the best young post players in the WNBA. She's going to go play for Taryn's Los Angeles Sparks. So she'll be out there in Los Angeles. And then Allie Quigley is sitting out the 2023 season. She's not retiring, but she is not going to be playing this season. It's Kalia Copper's team. It's Kalia Copper's show to be running here for the Sky, for James Wade's crew. They did make a couple of additions. They weren't all subtractions. They did add Courtney Williams will be coming to the Sky, a veteran guard presence there for the Sky. She's going to be coming in for a couple of seasons. That's not a bad move for the Sky. It does get them a little bit of veteran presence there. You're talking about somebody that's, a good 3-point shooter, 35% for her career. She's been playing in the WNBA since 2016. She's in her late 20s. She still has some time in the tank. So a move there. Also, the Sky also signed forward Isabel Harrison to the team. That happened late in the week last week. Harrison has also been playing since 2016. She will be turning 30 probably after the season. She's 29. This will be her age 29 season. So still some plenty left in the tank there for her. She's spent the last 4 seasons in Dallas playing with the Wings. So hopefully you get some good things there. Not as much scoring from Williams. She only averages a little over 8 points a night. She does pull down about 5 rebounds a game as well, but not a lot of additions compared to the big subtractions leaving the Skies. So it's going to be very interesting to see what James Wade has in mind there in Chicago. Just 2 seasons removed from a championship run and a surprising semifinal exit a season ago, but it looks like the Sky, it's going to take a lot for them to make another run at it this season, as they've got a lot of big shoes to be filling on the roster this upcoming season. It'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, that is going to do it for our show this week. Thank you again to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, MLOS Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you to Larry B. for all the hard work you do behind the scenes, sir, working on the website, getting all of our agreements out there for podcasting, whether it's with the Android or getting all of our shows up on YouTube. Taryn, I know you did a lot with that as well, or working on getting us back onto Apple Podcasts. Thank you to Taryn for hanging out with us in the chat room as well. Finally, thank you for coming and listening to the show, whether it was live or whether it was later on in the week as a podcast. Thank you for having me be part of your sports week. I really do appreciate it. Next week, of course, we're going to be reacting to the big game on Sunday between Philly and Kansas City. You can still, if you're trying to make your decision on who you like, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris tomorrow evening on Tuesday night, or you can check out the Kansas City on Sunday. That is going to be a crazy pregame show going on Sunday with this is KC Sports with Bishop talking all things Kansas City. Lots of fun. So IE Sports Radio has you covered on your Super Bowl coverage. We'll also see what moves Karshinovitz and Eversley have come up with for the Bulls, what lane they chose at the trade deadline. And I'm sure we'll find some other things to yak about while we're here next week. Before we get out of here, I do want to make a quick prediction. It's going to be a close one. I think we'll go Philly 27, KC 24 in the Super Bowl. We'll see how that holds up. Until next week, everybody be good, be healthy. We will see you next time. This is Adam Kernick for IE Sports Radio saying see you next time.